Hey y'all, it's me Alex. Today I'm doing another anti-hauling things I actually want. This is basically all eyeshadow because honestly, really the things that I actually think about long enough for me to lust after them, it's always eyeshadow. So if you don't know what this is, an anti-haul was created by Kimberly Clark, who basically combated consumerism in the beauty community by doing an anti-haul and saying why you shouldn't buy things. And I've also seen a lot of different people do some really awesome anti-hauls. Abby Williamson, for example. You should go check out other people's anti-hauls. For me personally, one of my New Year's resolutions slash just general 2020 goals is to anti-haul only things that I actually want so that I can go through the process of trying to figure out, you know, why is it that I want this? Do I have other things in my collection that are like this? Because I did that back in December for one, and I only ever bought one thing off of that anti-haul because everything else I talked myself out of. And the one thing that I did buy, the Melt Muerte palette, I've really enjoyed, and it was a good and worthwhile purchase for me. So I figure, you know, if I put down everything that I want and I anti-haul it, then I am able to really determine, you know, what of this would actually be of good use to me? What if I am thinking about it in a month's time? Am I going to actually be enjoying? So I have it all written down and I am just going to get started. I'm not going to say I'm going to rush through this, but I am going to say that my room is very hot and I'm wearing a very cute sweater, but it is a sweater. So the first thing on my list of things I need to anti-haul are the Juvia's Place mini palettes. I was specifically looking at that little bitty purple one. They look so beautiful. But I'm kind of really not in a place where I want to be buying from Juvia's Place, even though their shadows are really good. I have their festival palette. I also have one of their blush palettes, and I really like them. But I feel like the owner is just like so shady, and like there's been so much like drama on social media because of that, and I'm not here for it. Saving my money 2020 by not buying from people that like do not kind things. So I need to talk myself out of this, specifically the purple palette, because it is quite beautiful, and you know I love purple eyeshadow. Purple eyeshadow is my holy grail. Purple eyeshadow is my go-to for everything in my life. If I could bathe in anything, it would be purple eyeshadow. But by that account, that means that I do have a plethora of purple eyeshadows in my collection. So that's very beautiful, and I'm looking at it right now and it is quite stunning. It's very lovely, all of that good stuff that eyeshadow should be. But I already have a mini purple palette. It is the Menagerie Cosmetics Violet Ink palette, and I love it so very much. You will have seen it on my 2019 favorites video. It was my everything, and it still is my everything. It is so beautiful. I love all of the purple eyeshadow. I also have purple eyeshadow in my Anastasia and Alyssa Edwards palette, and my ABH and Jackie Aina palette, several Urban Decay palettes, Pinky Rose Exotic Peacock, and I'm sure a few others. I'm just like, I have a lot of eyeshadow, so it's not all gonna come to my brain. And I'm looking at it too, and there are more shimmers than there are mattes, which I don't entirely care for. I prefer more mattes than shimmers. And so in that vein, since there's one very light matte and one very dark matte, and just a variety of shimmers, I kind of worry about the variety of looks that I would be able to get out of it. Plus the purples in my Menagerie Violet Ink palette are a lot more vibrant, which is a bit more of what I would go for rather than a smoky purple palette such as this, so I don't need it as much as I think I do. The next thing I'm interested in are the Fenty Beauty Snap Shadows palettes. I'm going to pull that up. They are the Snap Shadows Mix and Match eyeshadow palettes. There are 8 of them, and they all look very cute. They're little bitty 6-pan palettes. There's one that's the Cool Neutrals, which has like a pop of purple, and I think it's definitely the pop effect going on that is drawing me in, because it's mostly the Cool Neutrals with that one really bright, vibrant purple. So that draws me in, but no, I don't need it. There's also the Deep Neutrals, which is also very beautiful, and those are a lot of the same sort of colors that I am very drawn to, but I also don't need that because I have the Viseart Dark Mattes and the Viseart Dark Edit, and those have a lot of similar vibes, I believe. And then there is the one in Cadet, which is the one that is drawing me in the most because it has some very earth tones, like this very lovely mustard. It almost kind of looks like a condensed version of Subculture, so it doesn't have some of the more vibrant deep shades from that, but it does have like a mustard, kind of a khaki olive green, and there's like this cadet blue, and it is very pretty. But what is keeping me from buying it is that I did actually check for these in Sephora the last time I was in a Sephora, and I like swatch shadows, and the shadows feel very, very dry. So even if they might perform well on the eyes, I do not like how they feel, and I feel like they would probably be more of the kind of shadows that you would really need to build up, whereas I'm a big fan of the super, super pigmented type of eyeshadows where you like pack it on and then blend it out. As much as I love that color combination and I think it's pretty, I do already have the Subculture palette, which is kind of the vibes that that is giving me, so I don't need it, especially not in a formula that I would not use as much as I would use like my Subculture palette. Brings me to two palettes that are basically kind of the same thing. And at the very least, I need to talk myself out of buying at least one of them. That way I don't get both. But basically, I'm really, really loving the Melt Gemini palette. And I really, really, really want it. Because I thought like after I got the Melt Radioactive palette that I would hate their shadows and I wouldn't want to get any more of them because that one really wasn't my favorite. Then I got the Muerte palette and that was so incredibly lovely. And I figured that if all of their shadows from other palettes are like that, then I would be significantly more inclined to get them. And I love a good grungy eye. So I'm very interested in the Melt Gemini palette because I love those olivey greens and grungy browns and mustards. And I did kind of create, when it first came out, I did kind of create my own version of the Gemini palette with some Divina singles, which I do really love. I think I need to go back into them in order to keep me from buying this because I did kind of just dupe the green side because the green side is really the portion that I'm interested in. I do like some of the warmer browns. I like them. They're fine. I just know that I would get a lot more use out of the green side. I also have the Igneous Cosmetics Go Green palettes, which obviously get the greens. And then along those same lines, I'm lumping these two palettes in together with the Melt Gemini is the Kaleidos Makeup Sci-Fi Green palette. I feel like this is a more condensed version of the Gemini palette. It is significantly less expensive, but it gives those same vibes. And I really, really want them both. They are both lovely and grungy, and I've heard nothing but good things about Kaleidos Makeup shadows. I don't need them because I have a lot of lovely grungy green shadows. In the same way that I have a lot of purple eyeshadows, I have a lot of lovely grungy green shadows. And so even though I want to try those formulas, even though I might want those specific things, I don't need them because I have a lot of things that are very similar to them that I have and I love. And why would I add more things to get me away from loving the things that I already have? I do not need those. I swear I don't need it. This one is going to be a bit easier for me to talk myself out of. There's a little part of me that this is pulling on, and it's the ColourPop Mint to Be palette. It is just very, very pleasing for me to look at all of those lovely little mint pastel-y shades. Now, I know that this is something that I should not own. I do not wear pastel shadows enough to even come close to justifying it. It is monochromatic. I also don't, aside from purple, I don't really go for monochromatic palettes, so I think that that is also a strike against it. I also just watched my friend Annette's video on it, and it wasn't super great. Like, all of the shadows really seemed to kind of get murky together. Like, they were fine and the look she came out with was beautiful, but that was more due to the fact that she's a very talented makeup artist and not necessarily due to the quality of the palette. As lovely as this is, it is not practical at all for me to have in my collection. I have my Strobe Cosmetics Creepy Cute palette and also my Sugar Pill Fun Size palette, which do have some minty pastel tones in there if I do feel compelled to do some sort of mint green look. You know, if I want a mint green shimmer, I can always buy a single eyeshadow. I do not need an entire palette, and that is perfectly fine. So this is something that came into my Sephora Loves list last night. Millie of Bad to the Brow shared this on her Instagram story, and I have not stopped thinking about it since. It is the Violet Voss Sweet Violet fun-sized eyeshadow palette, and like I said, I love me some purples. I love some berry tones. This looks like kind of what I wanted that Dominique Cosmetics berry tone palette to be. This is a lot more vibrant. It doesn't have really any neutrals in it aside from like one kind of creamy-ish shade. And I think it is so, so, so stunning. and I know I would use the heck out of this. In my effort to combat my want for that, this morning I did end up using my Anastasia Beverly Hills and Alyssa Edwards palette, and while it doesn't have all of the tones that come in this palette exactly, it has enough that I know, at least for a bit, I should be satisfied with that palette because it has the pinks and purples and blues, which are all tones that I really go for, and I have them in that palette, and I really love the formula that came with the Abuche and Alyssa Edwards palette. I've never tried Violet Voss shadows before. I've heard amazing things about their shimmers, and so that is kind of what is intriguing me to want this. Plus it is only $18. But also saying, oh, it's only $18. It's still $18 more than what you would be spending if you didn't buy that palette, you know? Justifying it by saying, oh, it's only $18. You don't need to if it's adding something into your collection that is going to create clutter. What if you don't end up liking it? Why spend $18 on something that you have in other forms in your collection? Why would you do that, Alex? That is a bad thought and you should feel bad. You know, everyone talks about like Catholic guilt, but like no one ever says anything about evangelical guilt, and y'all, I have a lot of that. I'm very good at that. I'm evangelically guilting myself out of the Violet Voss Sweet Violet Fun Sized Eyeshadow Palette. Besides, I was like trying to see if it would be at my local Sephora, and according to the Sephora website, it is not at a Sephora within 100 miles of me, so I don't need it. And finally, the last thing I need to anti-haul is something that is in my shopping cart right now, and it is the Shroud Cosmetics Moonfall Trio. And it didn't help that I watched my friend Butte Bean's video using one of the shadows from that trio this morning. It is so very beautiful. It's this little trio of single shadows that are all like very dark but also like jewel toned. One is very peacocky blue, one's like a grungy lime green, and one is like a magenta-y purple shade. And they're all shimmers, and I love Shroud Cosmetics shimmers. At least I'm going to assume that this is kind of the formula they had before they rebranded, because some of my original favorite palettes from them before they rebranded were their American Horror Story palettes. I got those way, way, way back when, and those are all shimmer palettes, and I adore the shimmers in those. And I would love to have those sorts of shades in that formula, and I have been looking at a lot more single eyeshadows because that would help me to customize my collection. But it is $15 for the trio, and I know that there are coupon codes out there, so that is how I want to justify it in my heart. However, I don't have like an empty palette. I have one empty palette and I don't really have room in it, so I want to have room in it, but I don't quite know where I can find more palettes that are like that because I'm not into the single shadows realm in the same way that other people are, so I just don't have that knowledge. Even though I'm lusting after that, and even though those shades do seem to be pretty unique to my collection, I don't need them until at the very least I can figure out how to get my hands on one more empty palette for me to put them in. That's enough of a justification. That counts as an anti-haul, right? I don't... Oops. That is it. Please tell me what you're talking yourself out of buying, or tell me, you know, let me know if there's something you need me to talk you out of buying, because obviously I'm pretty good at that. That's why I'm doing this for myself, and I hope I can help you with it. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you like it, and subscribe down below if you want to see more videos from me, and I'll see you on my next one. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye!